Whoever you are, come. Come. Whether you be wanderer, worshipper, a lover of leaving, come. Come. This is not a caravan of despair. It doesn't matter that you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Still, come. And yet again, come. Now I lay me down to stay awake. I pray the Lord my soul to take into wakefulness, so that I can get this one bit of wisdom clear. That grace comes to forgive, and then forgive again. We're told that grace is all around us, but we have to allow it. We have to be receptive to it, open to it. So for these few moments, we're given a golden opportunity in this very sacred atmosphere to open our hearts, our minds, even our senses, through feeling, to that special grace that forgives again and again. The best way to approach this is to have an attitude of letting go, abandoning yourself, not caring what anyone thinks, how they feel about you. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. All that matters is that we be in a let-go, wide open, in wakefulness, witnessing. So watch and feel. Look, Prakash. Look, Prakash ji. You multiplied like rabbits. The last time I looked, you were not so big. So, welcome. Welcome to your home. Welcome back to your home, Ananda Ashram. Welcome those who think they just come back, but you've never been away. A special welcome to Julie and Jules. Whenever I hear Jules and Julie are coming, it reminds me of that great French classic Jules and Jimmy. Remember Jules et Jimmy? You know that. So you can never separate your two. So I do welcome the Jivamukti students and teachers, as well as our other guests who have come to join us on this. We still think of it as a Thanksgiving weekend. Whenever we're in this ashram. I don't happen to live here physically, but it feels as though we do live here because it's going on 47 years that we've been coming every weekend. And I must say that when I was wise enough, a little bit wiser, to recognize that anytime we're drawn back to this magnificent ashram and powerful ashram, it feels as though we should stop, pause, and give thanks to the forces that pulled us back here, or back to any of the teachers, any of the training that is going to save us from so much suffering, save us from so much despair. So it's like Thanksgiving every weekend, Thanksgiving every day for the people who live here, Thanksgiving every day, giving thanks. And as always, readings just fell into my hands yesterday. It was a busy week, so I had to leave the selection really to the last minute. And although I felt that the teachers here must have read from Sri Brahmananda's articles on Thanksgiving, it always seems to me worthwhile to take a few paragraphs of something very striking and go deeply into it, instead of just running by it, reading a whole essay. And so when I looked into one of the Thanksgiving articles, this one was written in 1985, I believe. Let's see. Yes, November 23rd, 1985. I found something that resonated with me because it is on the topic of grace. And I think when times are really so difficult for you, for me, for the world at large, there comes a time when we just say, I don't know what else to do but beg for help. And apparently that's what we're supposed to do. Beg for help. Because as long as we think that there's something we can do to encourage nature, to encourage destiny, the forces, then we still have work to do on ourselves. Because that's the meaning of the word surrender. To surrender what? You know, at this ashram, when I'm here, there are usually 2 answers to my questions. I can ask 800 questions, it's only one of 2 answers. So, what is it? The surrender, not the witness, not the surrender of the witness. Surrender of? There you go. I usually plant someone in the audience. So, when it looks as though nobody knows, that person will pull up. But there are 2 very important words that we heard over and over and over again, expressed by Guruji and all the great masters and teachers. It is that we have to eventually sacrifice the ego. At least have that feeling. Use it when it's necessary, but when it's not necessary, see very clearly that it has to go before we can be open to the grace that is here right now. But if we're not feeling at this moment extremely blissful, it means there's one door that we still left closed, and that has to open. All the doors have to be open for that to happen. So listen to Sri Brahmananda. It's like going home to a warm house lit by a beautiful fire just to hear these words. He's asking a question. He says, if the grace of God is eternal and everywhere, then why aren't we able to feel it? And it comes right in and says, hold on to the sense of I am. And automatically you will feel the grace of God and Mother Nature. And when you do, you will feel a natural sense of gratefulness. Natural, not an obligatory sense. Many of us feel gratitude because we think we should feel gratitude. How awful of us when we've been given so much that we don't feel it. But this is not what our teacher is describing. He says, when you do hold on to this sense of I am, instead of the sense of our personality, then that feeling of thankfulness and gratitude will just flood in. It will be a flood, like a tsunami. You'll start to cry and laugh at the same time because you're so full of feeling. So much of the time, I know this from people coming to me and feeling it once in a while, not too often. So often we're dead to ourselves. We shut down, we block being open to anything that comes. We're too scared. We feel that we've been so guarded. We haven't allowed any more people to hurt us after that 18th betrayal. We said, no, no more, no number 19. I don't know where that number came in. But there comes a time when we say, no more. I'm not going to allow anybody or anything to hurt me again. Right? Not true? I know all the heads are going, that's true. How did she know? I know because I know what happened to me. But it's not good for us, because then we're shut down from ourselves as well. And then we die a slow and painful death. We don't want to do that. If anything, with all these opportunities for a sudden awakening, we want it to be this lifetime when conditions are so good. It's so clear that we're being given a great opportunity. Right? Don't you feel that way? So, just a few paragraphs, but there's an answer here. When you do hold on to this sense of your own existence, your own origin of being, you will feel a natural sense of thankfulness, not only to God and to nature, but to every happening, to the ups as well as the downs. A feeling of thankfulness to the seemingly good fortune or even the misfortune. Any happening, this is so important, that's why it had meaning for me. Sri Brahmananda is telling us any happening, any accident or incident that opens the real eye of wisdom becomes a happening that is far greater than obtaining the kingdom of the entire world. If you gain the whole world, yet lose yourself, you have gained nothing. But if you lose the whole world, and yet gain yourself, then of course you have lost nothing at all. So he comes back. It seems as though he answered the question, but he's not satisfied. He can feel that we're not sure yet. So he asks again. So the question is, if the grace of God is eternal and everywhere, then why is it that we don't feel it? Now, by now you're mesmerized and not willing to work, but I'm not going on until we do. Because there's an expression now, I think it's in our modern language going on in the world of information. People are saying to me all the time in their emails and telephone calls, Joan, I think I really own this now. I say, you do? He said, yes, haven't you heard that expression? How many have heard this? You all heard it? I never heard it. I never heard that expression. But I'm trying to get rid of everything I own. You know? I don't want to own anything new, and yet they're telling me this is a good thing in their lives. They own it. I think they're saying to me this is a conviction of theirs now. They're not going to go back to the old state, but I don't think we can ever say that convincingly, that we won't go back, take that fall again, and then have to come back. There's no saying. But the good news is that if we take a complete fall, if we drop totally, we turn back to our original silliness and foolishness, doing the same things and acting the same way that led to suffering and led to frustration. The good news is, instead of having to wind all the way back to where we were, we just take a mighty leap. Like Lord Hanuman, who jumped across an ocean to find Sita. What is Sita symbolic of in the Ramayana? Who remembers? The wisdom. Sita represents wisdom. And when Sita herself loses her wisdom and runs after the golden deer, which is the symbol of the world tempting us, Ram knows that that's some magical transformation, but there's evil behind it. And yet she begs him, please get it for me. And he said, yes, but be careful. And he runs, knowing it's a trick, it's a ruse. But even wisdom loses her wisdom. And that represents us, that even when we're in a state of wisdom, the old tendencies creep up. And we're tempted by the golden deer of the world, the beauty in the world, the tantalizing adventure that seems to be in the world. So, let's do a little work. I don't have much time tonight because Deepak and Naren are coming, but I feel that if you are going to own this tonight, I'm going to use the modern term, you're going to own this. If you're going to own it tonight, who knows when we'll lose it, but tonight you can own it. What is it that we want to be open? We want to be available to the grace. It has such a beautiful sound, to the grace, to unconditional love, to the forgiving nature of the Sadguru. They never give up on us. No matter what we do as a personality, they don't care. As long as we continue to get up and try again, they'll be there. But what's wrong with us? Lifetime after lifetime, we have a tendency when we're getting older to return to the old vrittis, the old tendencies. What prevents us right now, never mind tomorrow or yesterday, right now, unless you're feeling the way the gurus feel? Look at his face up there. Unless you're feeling like that. Is there a light on the photograph? Unless you're feeling like that, look into you now. Why not? Why aren't you? Why aren't I? I happen to be at this moment. It doesn't mean 10 minutes from now I will be. Why not be wide open to that love? Grace is love. Why can't it fill you instantly? Julie, why? Tell if you have any kind of indication from your own inquiry this minute. This morning, I would not have been as accessible as I am this minute, but I've had a whole day of talking to lovely people, meditating, being in this powerful atmosphere that does open that knot of the heart a little bit. But why not totally open? What's in the way? Lindsay, what do you think? So, Lindsay is saying there's some fear of being totally open because you risk being hurt again. That's why I said we've shut down. That's part of the problem. But there's another reason too. A very natural reason. But no, about you. Talk about you. What do you think prevents you? Yes. Okay. Sometimes that comes. So there's fear, there's a feeling that I don't deserve it, but that's from a neurotic past. I always think like that. And then I said, no, she did that to you. Don't pay attention to that. Because anyone who has a fear of opening up has been originally shut down as a child by another person. That's a given. There are children, who are never shut down, and they're free, but something is still missing in their lives too, and it's the same thing. What it is we're not ready to leave the known. Because if we're wide open, we're opening ourselves to the unknown. So fear stops that. Also, the mind comes in with some theoretical or analytical. But it's said so many times by the gurus, all the enlightened ones, they're always offering us grace, always offering us a fantastic opportunity to leave all this darkness, not physically, but to come out of our loneliness, our suffering. It's not just fear, that's what I'm going after. Listening to people, it's that you're still not through with this world. There's still something holding you here. The name of that is it's not always ego, the answer. But ego is involved in it. But look at your own life. What are you ready to leave? Really? Everything you love? Everyone you love? If I said, let's say, I'll pick Anna. You trust me, Anna? She hesitated a little bit. She went, why? What are you going to ask me? If Anna really trusted me, I know she loves me, but does she trust me? And I said, Anna, I want you to get up and go to that door without looking back. And once you open that door, this world, with everybody you know, and everything you're enjoying, will disappear from your memory. Oh! But if we're ready to do that, and she looked kind of ready just now, scared me. Because I don't know who put that in my mouth to say. Might happen, who knows? This is what we do when we allow that plunge in meditation. That plunge. Because if we can take the plunge and not care if we never come out, because that's not a bad way to go, is it? In meditation. And if you have the understanding that it won't happen unless it's destined to happen, then why not have the adventure and really go deep, go in the deep water, not in the shallow water. But not only don't we go in the deep water, we go in the jacuzzi, where it's warm and bubbling and nice massage and 2 feet deep. That's what's happened to us. And I think what's needed, why Gurji posed the question twice in the same article, I think if our meditations are not yielding that bliss, that joy, that enthusiasm, you have to take, all of us do, we have to take another look, a deep look at how much we're still identified, not only with the world, but with this body. How much we're doing in terms of what the body needs as opposed to what the soul needs. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, in that great book, I Am That, says very clearly, the body will live as long as it needs to. Just keep it going, like a car. You give it the food it needs, you give it the rest it needs, you give it the company it needs, and then forget about it. Don't be all the time concerned about it. You'll be like spending this entire day thinking about what you can do to make your car run better. There are people I know like that, hopefully not in this room. I had an uncle like that. Long gone. I think his car is still here. He's not here. So I hope everyone is clear about that. It's here. We don't have to look for it. We just have to open our eyes. What a beautiful poem I read. He said, that wonderful prayer, he just turned around. Instead of now I lay me down to sleep, which is our childhood prayer, he says, now I lay me down to stay awake. I pray the Lord my soul to take into wakefulness, so that I can get this one bit of wisdom clear, that grace comes to forgive, and then forgive again. Who would not want such a grace in our life? Who would not want that? So we have to consider the damage we're doing each and every day by getting caught in the old tapes of desire, of need, of worrying about respect, worrying about name and fame and security. We have to worry up to a point, but not to the point where it causes anxiety. Anxiety, stress, fear, ambition, loneliness, all of it is in the way of that grace that is only too available to us. But we're interfering, we're closing the door. So, just those few words of Guruji as happened at a performance lately, and Sarvavijaya said today that listening to the poetry of the great Sufi mystic poets, she had a sudden breakthrough that had been coming for years. Am I right, Sarvavijaya? How many years? Yeah. And then in 29 years. And it happened today, and now you own it. I knew she'd laugh. It's not her language. She speaks more like Rumi than a corporate worker. I'm going to read something now, unless you have a question. Do you have a question related to that reading? Sri Brahmananda could say 100 words, and if you heard one phrase that opened your mind suddenly, then there's no need to repeat that relationship, that desire, because it was gone with that understanding. Understanding, please. Understanding, please. So does anyone have a question about that? No? Eva? No. Gina called you Eva. No. No, don't look for a question. I'd like an inappropriate question. No, if you're not sure, because this may, as you've often told me, sometimes the reading answers your question almost magically. And this is from a wonderful book entitled Satchid Anand. And they are the teachings of Osho, but in this particular reading, Osho Rajneesh is answering a question that one of his students asked him. And he's asking, what is the magic of waiting? The magic of waiting. How many of you feel, as I did, say in the 70s, that you're kind of on hold? You can't go up, you can't go back, you're hanging in the middle. How many of you feel like that? Raise your hand. The rest of you feel enlightened? Do you know what is meant here? It means you can't go back to your old life. And yet, you're not quite ready for the jump that's necessary so that there's a complete break. That's usually when a Sanskrit name seems very attractive to you. Not a name, but just coming out of the past of your old name. You have the feeling to either return to your origin or take a jump into another dimension where you have left the old behind. So that's the feeling. And I think if you don't have it once in a while, that you're on hold, that you're missing something. I remember one of my favorite stories is that on one of the rare occasions I was with Sri Brahmananda alone in the 70s, I was driving him somewhere. I had this question, but I saw he was meditating in the car, so I hesitated asking him, but I forgot that he had powers of mind reading. So I'm driving my little Volkswagen, thinking I hope he opens his eyes soon, so I have this opportunity to ask him. But before he opened his eyes, he said, "Some question you have?" And I looked, and he hadn't changed. He was still meditating. He knew. So I said, "Well, yes." I said, I'm sure I'm like many people. But this was in the late 70s. I said, but I feel as though I'm on hold. I feel as though those first years when I met you and then the ashram was built and those days were so exciting and everything seemed as if it would pass, we're passing like a dream. And he said, and now? I said, now I feel as though I'm on hold. On hold, very lovely expression, on hold. You mean like on telephone, on hold, when they say, please hold? I said, yes. It's very lovely. He said, how does it feel to be on hold? I am not on hold, he said. How does it feel? Very nice experience. I said, it feels, I want to say not good at all. I said, it feels as though nothing is happening. It feels as though everything that was supposed to happen happened already. And now I have to live out my life and wait till old age and wait till you take pity on me. And I was rambling on. He said, this is on hold for you, I said, yes. He said, so what did you say you are waiting? I said, yes. This is the most important part of the process. Waiting. Waiting without impatience, without expectation, just waiting. Interesting. And then he went back to his meditation. That was it. He had finished talking. And that has been with me since the 70s. He said, that's an important, I think he said, the most important part of the process, because that involves total, as you will hear, I'll read this. There is certainly a deep magic, almost a miracle, when you are in total silence, when you are in trust, in love, just waiting. The moments of waiting are moments of meditation. The reality is that you are not going anywhere. You're just going to remain here and now. Truth and consciousness and bliss are going to come to you. They are going to be your guests. You are the host. All that you need is an open door, waiting. Just like one waits for one's friend or for one's beloved, looking far away, as far as the eyes can see, looking towards the faraway horizon, waiting. And here's a beautiful story for Thanksgiving. I am reminded of a Sufi story. So you're home again, Sadhaviji? It's a Sufi story. It's not just a story, it is an historical fact. Another great emperor of India was Akbar. Mohammedans pray 5 times a day, and Akbar was very particular. One day, he had gone hunting in the forest with all his friends, and they had gotten lost. Remember, according to Sri Brahmananda, every story we hear, every story I recite, was custom designed just for me, just for you. Everybody here know that this song, this play, this poem, this prose was designed just for you to hear tonight. How do I know that? I don't have that wisdom to know. Sri Brahmananda said, Listen as if it's not for everybody else. Listen as if it's for you. Sudarshana, am I right? Sudarshana says yes. It's for you. He says, Akbar was very particular. He had to meditate 5 times a day. One day he'd gone hunting in the forest with all his friends, and they all got lost. Evening was descending, the sun was setting, and it was the time to pray. So Akbar stopped under a huge tree, tied his horse to the tree, and sat on the ground to do his last prayer of the day. And as he was praying, a woman, a very young woman, ran just by his side, giving him such a shock. It seemed as if she were mad or blind, but she pushed right into him, and he fell down. Still, she went on, didn't even look back. Akbar naturally was very angry. He was the emperor. Mohammedans in prayer are very particular that nobody should touch them, nobody should disturb them. It can become a very dangerous thing. And for the emperor, this ordinary village girl, not caring at all, running like mad, hitting him while he was in prayer, the emperor fell down. Because Mohammedans pray sitting on their knees. So it's very easy just to push them a little and they will fall down. It's very difficult to push a Buddhist or a Hindu when he is praying because he's sitting in lotus posture. It's a very locked posture. You cannot just push him. He's very strong in his posture. But to push the Mohammedan, very easy. Howsoever strong he may be, his posture is very precarious, sitting on his knees. Akbar finished his prayer quickly because he wanted to catch hold of that girl. She could not be allowed to do such things. If she could behave with the emperor in such a way, what to say about other people? But he couldn't figure out. It was getting dark. Where she had gone. He waited, thinking she must come back to the village, and he was just outside the village. And finally, she came. Remember, you're looking for how this impacts you, how this shines a light in the darkness of our lives. We're in the dark until we're completely in the light. We're still in Plato's cave. We may be at the top rung of the ladder, just about to come into the clearing. But right now, we're still in the dark. Unless there's someone here who can tell me for 24/7, you're in a state of bliss. No matter what terrible things are going on in your life, you're like Hafiz, who was a madman, but enlightened. The mad Hafiz. So, he waited, thinking she must come back to the village. Finally she came. Akbar stopped her and said, "Do you remember what you have done? Do you?" She said, "No, I don't remember anything. Do you remember?" She said to me. Akbar said, "You seem to me a very strange girl. You don't understand, do you? You're talking with the emperor of the country." She said, "I understand, but I don't remember anything of what you're talking about." He said, "What am I talking about? I have been praying here, and you ran in such a way that you pushed me, and I fell down. You disturbed my prayer. I'm the emperor." He said, "Well, if you say so, it must have been so. but you have to forgive me. You see, I was going to wait for my lover just on the road which runs through the forest. I wanted to greet him. He's coming after many years, just outside the village. I couldn't remain sitting in my house and waiting. It's just 1 mile, but he'll be waiting, thinking that I must be standing just by the side of the tree where we used to meet when we were young. That's why I was so much concentrated that I did not know, and I didn't know I had committed any mistake. So please forgive me. It must have been committed without my knowledge at all. Now, she was so innocent, and the tears came to her eyes because she had hurt her own emperor. She said, "You can give me any punishment, otherwise it will remain heavy on my heart. But I hope you won't think I'm bold. I just have one question, Lord, before you punish me. You were in prayer, you say. Still, I don't think you were so much concentrated as I was, right? Because I don't remember anything. It cannot be that I hit you. It cannot be one-sided. Your body also must have touched my body. But I don't remember. I don't remember having seen anybody on the way. I don't remember seeing you praying, bawling, or anything. I don't remember that anyone touched my body. So I'm very puzzled. I want to be clear about it. I hope you'll forgive my question, but is your prayer not as strong as my love? I'm feeling the Emperor feeling. Is your prayer not as strong as my love? Akbar remembers this incident in his autobiography. It's called Akbar Nama. He says, "Do you know, I had to ask forgiveness of that village girl. I've never forgotten her face, and I've never forgotten that my prayer is just a formal prayer. But if I'm lost in my prayer, lost in my love, lost in my gratitude towards the ultimate, then how can I be aware that someone has touched me, pushed me, or that my body has fallen? I would not have been aware of anything. But you see, I was aware, and that makes it certain that my prayer is just superficial. That girl's love was far deeper. She was closer to God than I was, although she was not concerned with God at all." That's what he wrote in his autobiography. Those are his words. And Osho says, a tremendous statement of understanding. I remember so many examples. I know we're just on time. I remember so many examples of Guruji saying, the whole purpose of this incarnation, of any incarnation, is for your ego to be crushed. Because the ego causes the sense of separation. The ego causes the dualism. So if you imagine that this incarnation is to bring you more and more knowledge and understanding perhaps, but it really is to return us to our innocency, to our ability to love unconditionally, to our ability to love so, looking for the right word, so deeply that we disappear, that we don't know when anyone has offended us, criticized us, disturbed us. We don't know. It's all a game. It's all fun. How come, I'll make this up, but how come when we were children and we were playing, Dharmadev and I go back so far, we used to play in the street. We used to play something called Scully, where you put some wax in bottle tops and you went like this and you shot them like marbles. Remember Kamalakan? And sometimes our friends would come over because we made a very good shot and they'd give us a good push. Say, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you get it there? And we'd laugh and push them back. But if we're a big yoga teacher in lotus position, or I'm sitting in meditation, and somebody doesn't care and pushes me or pinches me to say hello, something comes in there. Why don't we just pinch them back and laugh? Our guru would, if he felt you at all. But the problem is, and I say this often, the more we meditate, the deeper we can go in meditation, the more sensitive we become. The more anybody's touch, will cause a kind of a shock if we're in another place. Because we're not there yet, we're not enlightened yet. But we're able to plunge deeply into meditation. We're able to assume, some of you, not me, lotus position and keep that position. But it's more a jarring of our ego that occurs when somebody is disrespectful, we feel. And we have to be aware of that, because the point of our meditation is to disappear from the ego that becomes disturbed, becomes upset. That's the point of our meditation. In this lifetime, some of us are teachers, some of us are disciples, some of us are students. And Guruji said, don't be proud. This is like repertory theater. Next lifetime, the ones who were students, they will be the teachers. And they will abuse you if you abuse them. It goes around. So it's a game. As long as we do not have total union, so that there are no others, we have to be very careful about any labels we give ourselves. How do I know this? Of course, he told us. And when we were labeling ourselves as insecure to him, inadequate, lacking confidence, lacking conviction. What are you talking? You are goddess. You are the Lord itself. You are the self itself. And then we'd start to get puffed up. The ego would puff us up like a blowfish. And we'd come and we'd say to Guruji, Guruji, I'm feeling more confident. I'm feeling that I can lose myself more easily in meditation. He said, good. Go lose yourself in the kitchen and make meals. Or bathrooms, you want cleaning detail. He would just go the other way with us. Sometimes he said, I liked you better the other way. When you felt you didn't know anything, you weren't anything, then I could work with you. Now you are hard like a coconut with your ego. I know because he said that to me. It was very hard to know what the gurus were after. First they built you up, and then they pushed you down. But they were kneading us like dough until we were the proper consistency, until you finally said, As is said in one of the poems, I don't know what you want, but do with me what you will. I know I trust you. And that's the point of this whole story on waiting. Akbar waited, and Akbar is what we are. Akbar felt he had to get to the bottom of that, intuitively. So we have to find ourselves in that story. Are we more like that innocent girl? She may not know about God, but she does indirectly through her life that had her removed from time and space. At least she had a feeling. There are some, I don't think there's one in this room. There are people who have never felt lost in love. I have a feeling if you have found yourself at this ashram, you have been lost in love. You have been betrayed in love. But once you had that taste, you can never forget it, and you'll be looking for the origin of it. Did you ever hear a more perfect ending for a program?
So take a deep breath. And now as you breathe out, release all the language, all the words. This will only be 60 seconds. So feel yourself letting go and opening up to this now. Feeling it, perceiving it, imbibing it. Sometimes it only takes 1 minute to reconnect with your real life, your real home. I am that I am. That is our home. Krishna Devi, would you lead us in our traditional prayer? Japita Tvameva bandhus Chasaka Tvameva Tvameva vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Shanti 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 Thank you, Krishna Devi. And if some of you are feeling very high, that you may need a designated driver, take 2 cookies. Chocolate chip is a great way to come back to earth.